On this edition of Good Day DePaul, DePaul's budget shortfall. President Manuel provides an update.
TikTok, it's incredibly popular, so why is it being limited?
And the war in Ukraine. A DePaul professor uses artwork to capture the tragedy of the war. I'm Stefania Rodriguez.
And I'm Juliana Pelaez. And this is Good Day DePaul.
DePaul continues to deal with its budget shortfall. University President Robert Manuel says he will have a finished budget by June 16th. Manuel says he understands that some at the university feel the budget process has moved too quickly, saying, quote, "It is clear from your feedback that the time we had to make decisions about the budget was one of the major concerns." Manuel went on to say that, quote, "For the next budget year planning, I will work with SHRAC, Faculty Council, Staff Council, and our board to create a calendar that offers more time for our work. In the future, we will prioritize a thoughtful and more predictable budget planning process."
Manuel once again said that the current budget proposal includes a 3.5% merit pay increase pool for full-time and part-time faculty and staff. He also said it includes a 6% increase in institutional financial aid for students. In addition, Manuel elaborated on the university's voluntary separation incentive program. That's the program that will give some administrators and staff financial payments as an incentive to retire from their jobs. Manuel says that so far, 120 people have expressed interest in doing this, about 58.5% of those who are eligible for the program.
Finally, President Manuel addressed how all this is impacting students. He said, quote, "Understandably, I have received many questions about how our budget process will affect our students. Last week, I met with multiple groups of students to directly address concerns. Provost Salma Ganem, Vice President for Student Affairs, Jean Zarsky, and many other university leaders are actively engaging in discussions with students as well."
TikTok, it's one of the most popular social media sites in the world, but it's also controversial. I talked to some people at DePaul about the various issues that come with TikTok.
TikTok is an app that more than 150 million people use in the United States, with videos that share people's pets, small businesses, dancing, gaming, and more. It's an app that's become familiar to all ages. DePaul senior Jerica Cruz posts on TikTok frequently.
That I would say it affected my social life in a positive way. I've actually made most of my friends on TikTok that I have here. I think the pandemic also made it really hard to make friends. So I don't know, there's just a sense of community, especially in Chicago with other creators just on the app. So I would say it's been a pretty positive experience.
While Cruz uses TikTok as a place to share vlogs and follow other creators, the platform is facing opposition from others. In August of 2020, former President Donald Trump wanted to ban the Chinese-owned platform by an executive order. His concern? Fears that the Chinese government would get users' personal information off of TikTok. But a federal court threw out those efforts. Still, many remain concerned about TikTok.
Now, the First Amendment may protect dance videos, sure, upload those all you want, but the First Amendment does not protect the right to spy on American citizens. It does not protect espionage. It does not protect what the Chinese Communist Party is trying to do in harvesting the data of millions of Americans.
Meanwhile, others are taking action against TikTok. President Biden has banned it on almost all government-owned devices. 25 governors have taken TikTok off state devices, and many state universities have placed limits on TikTok use on campus. While TikTok denies that user information is being captured by the Chinese government, there are many who say otherwise.
From observation of things that have already happened, and also even from studies that Facebook itself has done on its users. We know the kind of data that's collected from these platforms. So the threat is real. And so from a national security perspective, the question is, Do I want another country, especially that has an increasing adversarial relationship with the US? Do I want them to have that kind of access on data? If it was me, if I was a TikTok user, would I want them to have like biometric data on me and be able to record, turn on my camera, be able to record audio around me and all this kind of stuff. And so from that position, yeah, sure. Banning it sounds good to me.
TikTok. It's incredibly popular and powerful, but its future in the US may continue to be limited. Reporting for Good Day DePaul, I'm Juliana Pelaez.
DePaul has named Jennifer Mueller as the new dean of the College of Education. Mueller is the former dean of the School of Education and Learning Design at St. Cloud University in Minnesota.
The war in Ukraine is now more than a year old, and it continues to cause incredible human suffering. Good Day DePaul Shaden Gomez reports on a DePaul professor who has created art that captures this tragic war.
The war in Ukraine has impacted and touched many people, including DePaul School of Music professor Kathy Ann Elias.
But I felt very bad about this one because it just seemed to be no reason to do it. And I just felt so bad for people, the everyday people who have done nothing.
Although she teaches music, art is something Elias is also passionate about. Last summer, she created a collection of 17 abstract paintings called Ukraine When God is Silent, a collection that expressed her feelings about the war.
Something I do from the inside, you know what I mean? I don't start with like an agenda. I kind of start with a feeling.
Elias feared that in this war, history could be repeating itself.
I felt like there wasn't like something happened and then they went in and, tried to counteract it. It was just kind of like, hey, let's go take over Ukraine. And of course the fear would be that Poland would be next and countries like that. And that may sound crazy, but I don't think people thought Hitler was going to take over or try to take over most of Europe.
Elias talked about her approach to these paintings.
I also didn't want the ones in Ukraine to be too graphic, because I wanted to show good things too, because I don't want to overdose people in everything negative.
In doing this, colors were critical to Elias's message. The colors of the Ukrainian flag.
So I didn't set out to say, I'm going to do a picture of the Ukraine, of Ukraine. I just kind of said all the colors of those are a lot of this color blue and yellow.
Kathy Elias, one teacher, one artist, one person deeply concerned about this tragic war. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Shaden Gomez.
Next on Good Day DePaul Sports, more frustration for the DePaul softball team.
That story and more when we return.
I think we should split. Split up? Why? I want to meet new people. People who need me. Meet new people? You're my left kidney. You only need one of me, man. And you have two. There are plenty of people out there who are dying because they don't have one. Really? You'll be giving the gift of life. I could be a hero. Yeah. It's all win-win up here, buddy. Why don't you go and save a life, pal? You're doing the right thing.
Caleb Nixon is here now with Good Day DePaul Sports. Caleb?
Stephania, an impressive season for the DePaul women's tennis team has now come to an end. The Blue Demons lost to Creighton in the semifinals of the Big East tournament. DePaul finished the season with an overall record of 12-10 and were 7-2 in the Big East. The men's tennis season is also over. They lost to Butler in the first round of the Big East tournament and finished with a record of 11-15 and 2-4 in Big East play. In track and field, DePaul was in Champaign for the Gary Winnicki Memorial Meet. The Blue Demons' Alex Bernstein had a stellar performance, setting a new personal best and winning the men's hammer throw. He recorded a final distance of 64.32 meters to finish first in the event. In women's basketball news, former DePaul star Anissa Morrow is in the transfer portal and has announced her top 3 schools. They are Southern California, LSU, and South Carolina. In men's basketball, DePaul coach Tony Stubblefield has added his third recruit this offseason. Jermaine Kamara will join the Blue Demons next season, coming from the NBA Africa Academy in Senegal. Kamara is a 6'5" shooting guard with a 7-foot wingspan. He's rated as a 4-star prospect by 247sports.com. And in another development, South Carolina's Chico Carter Jr. says he's transferring to DePaul. The 6'3" point guard is coming off a season starting 25 games for the Gamecocks and shooting 48% from the three-point line. Carter will have 1 year of eligibility left as a graduate transfer. Finally, former DePaul players Philmon Geberwitt and Ahmad Bynum have decided on their next destinations after transferring from DePaul. Geberwitt will stay close to Chicago and play for the Northern Illinois Huskies. Bynum, on the other hand, will travel elsewhere as he heads to Trinity Valley Community College, a junior college in Athens, Texas. Meanwhile, the Blue Demons are coming off a disappointing season, finishing 10-23 overall and 3-17 in the Big East. The question now is, what will it take to turn around the men's basketball program? In a year plagued by injuries and losses, the DePaul men's basketball team continued a pattern from years past. Over the last 10 years, the Blue Demons have a record of 129-213, meaning they've won only 38% of their games. Over that decade, DePaul has made 2 coaching changes. Oliver Purnell exited the program in 2015, while Dave Lato was replaced in 2021. Now, Tony Stubblefield is the coach. His first year saw improvement as the team finished 1 game under 500 overall, but just 6-14 in the Big East. This past year, the team regressed, going 10-23 overall and 3-17 in the Big East. Stubblefield knows that winning is critical.
The moral of the story is you got to win basketball games, and that's my job. I understand that, and for me as a coach, I got to put these guys in the best position to be successful.
Stubblefield understands the pressures of the job.
Well, there's nobody going to put more pressure on me than what I'm going to put on myself. And I know the job that I came here to get done, and that's still the plan for me, is to get DePaul back into postseason play.
He knows the goal, but the challenges are enormous. The question is, what will it take to make DePaul a winning program? ESPN 1000's David Kaplan has a suggestion.
And so when Tony goes in and he's recruiting against Rick Pitino at St. John's and Danny Hurley, who I know very well at Connecticut, and in the past, Jay Wright at Villanova, you're talking about the best of the very best. So you better have, an NIL fund, a collective that's going to put money in kids' pockets. And I just don't know how you contend with some of the schools and the money that they have.
NIL is a program that allows college athletes to be compensated, and many feel it's a vital element to turning a program around. According to On3.com, the largest NIL earner for DePaul last season was Ahmad Bynum at $66,000, and he barely played last year and has since transferred out of the program. There were 84 players in college basketball who made over $100,000 last year. For a school that currently lacks as much NIL money as some colleges, Stubblefield tries to make up for it through his recruiting process.
But it's just the recruiting, the relationships that are built along the way with the families, with the young men, and just getting to get out and know these people. So I really enjoy that. I'm a people person, so it's really exciting to get to know these young men and their families.
As promising as that sounds, Stubblefield has yet to bring in a program-changing player, the kind of player many fans hoped he'd attract when arriving here from Oregon. However, some feel another factor in DePaul's problems is the competition and the level at which they're playing. ESPN's Adam Rittenberg believes there was an unnecessary change at DePaul about 18 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, my big theory on DePaul is they never should have joined the Big East. I understand why they did from a financial standpoint, from a profile standpoint, but I just don't think DePaul fits in that conference because it's not set up to really fit in that conference. I think DePaul is an A-10 school. DePaul is a Missouri Valley type school. I think DePaul was a great Conference USA program.
For a conference that's won the national championship 3 times in 7 years, the Big East is regarded as one of the best in college basketball. During that time, DePaul is 27-100 in regular season Big East play, just a 21% win rate.
Well, I think the Big East is the best league in college basketball. From a coaching standpoint, from a player standpoint, I don't think there's any league out there as good as the Big East, and it's only gotten more challenging when you add a Hall of Fame coach like Rick Pitino. So it's just getting better, as you can see on a daily basis of young men that are picking schools in the Big East. And this is going to be all-out war every time you step out there on the floor in this league.
And there are still other opinions on what DePaul needs to do to turn around the program.
You're listening to today's edition of Sports.
Jack Thiel, both a student and Radio DePaul broadcaster for the Blue Demons, wants to see more youth.
With Zion Cruz and just other recruits coming in, you really just gotta, like I said, it's more about letting them play. Like I said, if you're going to not be good, at least not be good by letting your young guys get better. Like I get it, you can learn things from sitting on the bench. Although I believe that's true, in college, you gotta let these kids play because it's frustrating. Because look at Zion Cruz, top 100 player. He's playing 35 minutes, 30 minutes in high school, probably every minute he can. And now here he is sitting on the bench. That is demoralizing, I feel like, for a college player. And then you lose your confidence and you lose your touch and you really wonder, what am I doing?
Despite the problems, Coach Stubblefield is optimistic.
Again, I like the pieces that we have in play up to this point. I like the guys returning. Obviously, we still have more work to do. But I really do like our team going into next year, and I think we got a real chance to be able to get some things done. And again, we're going to play a very challenging non-conference schedule. It's going to be a tough Big East schedule, but I like the pieces that we got in place to go out and get the job done.
Most DePaul fans are not that optimistic, but they still hope that DePaul basketball can finally return to prominence. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Caleb Nixon. It's been a tough season for the DePaul softball team, and things didn't get any better in a recent home game against Northern Illinois. The DePaul softball team took a quick one-game break from conference play to face Northern Illinois. The Huskies come in with a record of 19-19, while the Blue Demons are sitting at 12-24. We pick it up in the third inning with the Huskies up to bat. This after Abby Pochi, the starting pitcher for DePaul, was able to hold the Huskies scoreless through 2. But it was Caitlin Shoemaker getting things rolling with a single to center field. After Shoemaker stole second, Courtney James laid a bunt down the third base line to advance Shoemaker, and James was also safe at first. Kelly Walensky was the next to bat. She hit a grounder to short, and while a runner did score, watch here as the Blue Demons are able to turn a double play in a crucial moment. Shoemaker recorded the only run of the inning for the Huskies. As for the Blue Demons, they couldn't get anything going early on. It was the Huskies' Lily Castle who was pitching a fantastic game. Recording 5 strikeouts on the day, she shut out the Blue Demons in her 6 innings on the mound. Feeding off of Castle's performance, the bats once again got hot for Northern Illinois in the 5th inning. A grounder to shortstop got Ellis Erickson on base first. An error on the play with the ball going into the dugout led her to advance to second. And right after that, another error for the Blue Demons. Caitlin Shoemaker once again getting on base after DePaul's Nicole Sullivan bobbled the ground ball. With 2 on and 1 out, Courtney James stepped up to the plate and delivered an RBI single to right. That sent Erickson home and pushed their lead to 2-0. On the very next pitch, it was once again Kelly Walensky delivering at the plate. She hit a single to left that sent 2 runners home, and after the throw sailed over the plate, Walensky was able to slide into third safely. DePaul head coach Tracy Otic-Zins then made a change on the mound, bringing in Katie Pierce in relief. After recording 1 out, Pierce still had a runner on base to take care of. Now with 2 outs, it was Sam Melinder who popped one to shallow center field, and the Blue Demons were unable to pull it in. Walensky ended up scoring while Melinder advanced to second. A brutal 5th inning put the score at 5-0 and out of reach for DePaul. The final score, 6-0, and yet another loss for the Blue Demons.
Yeah, I mean, they did a good job. They were definitely prepped for us. We struggled to make adjustments quicker. They made a couple good plays. We had a couple bad reads on the bases, but they came out, they executed, and they kept us off the base path, so they did a great job. We struggled to make the play. We struggled to field things cleanly and to finish through the plays, and I think that's what we've been harping on the team for the last couple weeks is we need to be cleaner, we need to be more intentional, we need to be more focused, and they took advantage when we made mistakes. They pushed bases, the dropped fly balls in the outfield, they took advantage of our mistakes.
The Blue Demons were projected to win the Big East at the start of the year. They now move to 12-25 in a season that has been nothing but disappointing. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Caleb Nixon. And after that loss, the Blue Demons were swept in a 3-game series against Villanova. Their record now drops to 12-28 and 4-14 in the Big East. That's sports. Back to you, Juliana.
Thanks, Caleb. Coming up, those tiny creatures called gnomes once again invade the DePaul campuses.
That story when Good Day DePaul returns.
Today, the heroes that fight day in and day out on the front lines. Those who are there, innovating in real time, saving lives and answering the call to care in times of crisis. American nurses. Nurses who have been there for each and every one of us in times of crisis for more than 150 years. Nurses are the pillar of strength and the foundation of healthcare and life itself. Nurses are there the day we are born. They are there when your family is in crisis, and they are there in the end. In confronting the most catastrophic health crisis in modern history, we must remember our American nurse heroes need our support as much as we need them. To show our gratitude for their courage and ensure they receive the critical education and support services they need, donate to the Coronavirus Response Fund for Nurses today, in honor of your American nurse hero.
DePaul Center for Journalism, Integrity, and Excellence recently honored 2 prominent journalists. Judy Woodruff received the Distinguished Journalist Award. Woodruff was the longtime anchor of the PBS NewsHour, and Sally Ramirez, Chicago native, received the Distinguished Alumna Award. Ramirez was the executive producer of the News with Shepard Smith on CNBC and was recently named Senior Vice President of News for NBC Chicago and Telemundo Chicago. The awards were presented by the center's directors, Carol Marine and Dawn Mosley.
They're called gnomes, and they recently returned to campus for the 6th annual Gnome Hunt. The tiny gnomes are painted by various DePaul groups and then hidden around the 2 campuses before a week-long search. The Gnome Hunt started at DePaul in 2018.
That's all for this week's edition of Good Day DePaul. You can keep up with us by visiting our Vimeo channel at Good Day DePaul or by going to goodday.depaul.edu.
And be sure to check us out on Facebook.
And if you have any news tips, message us through the Good Day DePaul social media channels.
Thanks for watching. I'm Stefania Rodriguez.
And I'm Juliana Pelaez. Have a good day, DePaul.